G'day everyone, my name's Steve Gannon and welcome back to Aussie Golf Pros. Now it's been blowing a dog off a chain in Sydney this morning. It's calmed down a little bit, but I thought what a perfect time to come out onto the golf course and show you how to play a few shots when there's a bit of wind. Okay, first I'm going to start out with the driver. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 little hacks, a few little tips to be able to help you control the ball when it's breezy or when it's windy. Now what we're trying to do when we've got a bit of breeze is cut out as much spin as we can. Spin into the wind, regardless of whether it's backspin, side spin, whatever it is really going to affect the golf ball when it's windy. So there's a few things that we can do with the driver to help us find the fairways when there's a bit of a breeze out. Now the first thing I want you to do is lower your center of gravity. I want you to engage the ground. Having a really stable base through a driver swing is really going to help us. So a good way to do that, or a good indicator, is to get yourself in a position like you're going to catch a ball. A little bit more bend in the knees and we feel ourselves pushing down in the ground, like we're anchoring ourselves to the ground. Now the reason we do this is because we want to stay as centered or as still as possible while we're swinging the driver. It's a really long shaft, and the tendency, or the thing that we like to do, especially if we're into the wind, is lean into the wind and get our weight forward on our downswing, and that steepens our angle of attack, creating lots of spin. And so with a lower center of gravity and a really stable base, it allows us to be able to remain grounded and make a really stable swing. Now the second tip I've got when playing in the breeze or when it's windy is I want you to just choke down a little bit. Not too much, half an inch max. That'll just give us a little bit, or the feeling of a little bit more control over our driver. Right, now tip number 3, or the third thing that I want you to do, is I want you to feel like that you stay very connected. And we do that by feeling a real relationship with our elbows to our body. And so when we're making our swings, you can make a few practice swings. I just want you to concentrate on keeping the elbows in as close to us as possible. And this will give us a really stable, connected swing, which will help lower the spin. Now the fourth little hack I've got for you when hitting it off the tee with your driver into the wind, or when there's wind about, whether it be downwind, crosswind, into wind, doesn't really matter, is tee it down. So remember, the object here is to find the fairway. When the wind's down, it's really tempting to tee it up and try and get that ball flying. But if you don't catch it right, it sends it flying in an area where you don't want it. So when it's breezy and when there's wind about, it's always good for your number one focus is to find the fairway. Now the fifth thing that I want you to do is swing easy. When it's breezy, you've got to swing easy. So I want you to do your normal full swing, but I just want you to swing within yourself. I want you to feel like you give that real softy, that 75, 80%er. This will help with rhythm and timing and help you to reduce that spin. All right, I'll give it a go. Teeing the ball down low. Choking down. Make a couple of practice swings, feeling my elbows connection, getting my body turning. Nice and smooth swing. Well, I might do that all the time. So when we're talking irons, pretty much the same basic stuff stays the same. So we want to be lowering our center of gravity. We really want to get a good firm base. The difference with the irons is we need to change the iron depending on how far we're hitting it. And the general rule is, it really does depend on how strong the wind is, whether it's into or down or across. But that general rule is to go down. Whatever you think, whatever you decide is the club that you're going to hit, whether that be a 1 club or 2 club, whatever club you decide, whatever iron you decide to hit, I like to go 1 down again. And so if you decide I'm going to hit this, but that's a nice full aggressive swing, when there's wind about, there's going to be a lot of spin as we talked about with the driver. And so what I like to do is whatever you think you're going to hit, drop 1 down again. And what that'll do is, because although we're swinging full, it's kind of a modified swing. It's a connected, it's a smooth, full swing. If we drop 1 down again, then we're going to take that spin off it even more. So we're going to have much more control over our flight. Now, you don't need to do too much difference with the tee height. When you're hitting an iron on a par 3, I'd like you to tee it up the same all the time, regardless of whether it's windy or whether it's not. But the principles that we did with the driver are going to be the same. I'm going to feel like I really lower my center of gravity. I really engage with the ground, so I've got a nice stable base to turn on. I'm going to feel like I want to swing really connected. So that little hack of tucking your elbows in. And then from there, I'm just going to go 1 down. So if I settle on a 7, I'm going to hit a 6, and I'm going to hit it nice and smooth. Lowering my center of gravity, engaging the ground. Tuck my elbows in, nice connected swing, and a nice smoothie. So that was a nice controlled shot. It was a nice controlled swing. It was connected. I felt really in control of it. What often happens is when you are trying to swing 75% or just trying to hit a nice softy, you tend to time it pretty well and you don't lose much distance. Now, the key to the iron is to drop 1 down. Whatever you decide on, drop another 1 down. Now, the last one we're going to talk about is wedges. Now, playing downwind or into a crosswind it's going to affect what you do or what shot you play. But again, as a general rule, I always like to go 1 down. So this one here, I'm downwind. I've only got about 60, 70 meters to go. But I would normally from this distance hit a lob wedge. I just had a nice smooth lob wedge, flight it up there. The problem that I have with the downwind, or even into wind, I'm going to go back down to the 54 if there's enough breeze to make me think, what am I doing here? Am I changing my wedges? What sort of shot am I going to play? So although it is kind of general, especially with the wedges, what I always like to do is go 1 wedge down. And so what that means is I'm going to put a smoother swing, just like the drive and the irons. I'm going to put a much more controlled, smoother swing, which I'm going to control the spin and control the flight. Now there's obviously, if you've got bunkers and things to go over, then you're going to have to use your imagination. But generally, if I'm slightly into wind or if I'm slightly down, what I want to be able to do is control the flight. So if it's into wind, I want the ball to come out a little bit tighter, a little bit lower, controlling that spin, not letting the elements blow it around too much. And again, conversely, when I'm downwind, I pretty much want to do the same thing. The problem with the lob wedge is when you hit it up there, the wind will either get underneath it and fly it long, or it can knock it down out of the sky as well. So if I can place something lower and a little bit more penetrating, then that's what I want to do. And so from this distance today into this green, downwind, and it's quite heavily downwind, there's not many trees around, so you can't really see, but it's quite a strong breeze. What I'm trying to do is knock this one down, but with a really strong flight rather than balloon it up there with a lob wedge. So I'm going 54 from about 60, 70 meters with this one. And again, I'm going to lower my center of gravity. I'm going to gauge the ground. I'm going to tuck my elbows in. I'm going to swing 3/4. Not going to choke down on this one. I don't need to. I just want a nice, connected, compact swing so I can control what I'm doing. So there you have it, guys. A few little tips and tricks and hacks to help you play better golf in the wind and when it's breezy. If you like what we do, then we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. There's that little bell down below, and that gives you all the notifications when we send something out. We do bring you a video out weekly on a Thursday, and I'll leave you with a lovely little quote for the wind. When it's breezy, swing it easy. Japanesey, lemon squeezy, fridge freezy.